At long last, the 2023 season schedule is out for the USFL podcast. We've also got some new rule changes, and because that schedule's out, we have details on the biggest bash of the year, SpringStock 2023. All this and much more on episode 46 of the USFL podcast, and it starts right now.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome, one and all, to the latest edition of the USFL podcast. I am Zach Kyleman, sitting in here with the hosting duties this week, as I'm going to bring in, of course, my good buddy, pal, cohort, friend, and, soon enough to be enemy as the season begins. It is the ref himself joining me on the other side. As, hey, newsflash, people, if you haven't heard already, if you didn't catch up on social media, the USFL has its new schedule out, which we are going to be breaking down in this episode. And there's a ton of other things, by the way, not just the schedule. So if you tune in for just the schedule, you're in for a treat. There's a lot more that we have to discuss, some that might have gone under the radar, by the way. So keep this all in mind, and we'll get to that in a moment. I wanted to backtrack, of course. My friend, how are you doing? How are things? Are you settled in? Do you have your schedule wallpaper set up on your phone at this time?
I'm ready to go. I know the games. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to talk about them. And I mean, we got a big week of news to talk about. That's the greatest thing, and we'll get into this, but the USFL used one of their old tricks on this old schedule announcement with that. It wasn't a late night tease, late afternoon tease, if you will. Just saying, hey, by the way, we're dropping stuff tomorrow. And this is on top of all the other news that we have to talk about. And just in general, it's a good time. Kickoff is right around the corner. We knew the kickoff date. Now we know the games. We know whose, we know the wheres, and we know the whens. And I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, Zach, we got some SpringStock details. And actually, I'm going to hijack this. Let's talk about some SpringStock real quick.
Why not?
SpringStock 2023. We've been having people argue a little bit on social media. You guys got to do it here. You guys got to do it there. But here's where it's going to be. A whole year after SpringStock debuted alongside the USFL, in Birmingham, Alabama, we're returning. The party's back in the pub at Todd English Pub. And here's how things are rolling out. And trust me, we can't give you all the details yet, but it's going to be awesome. And we have, Memphis, you're not out of the mix just yet. So April 15th, 12 p.m. Central, we're kicking things off both in person and online. So, hey, if you can't make the trip to Birmingham, maybe you're in Memphis and you said, hey, I wish I could be there. Well, you can still tune in. And we might, maybe, have some people live on the scene in Memphis working as a correspondent that we'll be able to chat back and forth with. So, hey, show up wherever's closest to you, but you'll be able to tune in. You'll have some options there. But the party doesn't end when SpringStock, the stream ends.
Oh, no, sir.
Because we're going right into it, right? So we're going SpringStock, kicking off at 12, 3:30 Central. We're hosting a watch party for that Memphis Showboats opening kickoff match, again, at Todd English Pub. So if you come to the event, stick around, have some food. They got some good food. They got some good drinks if that's your thing. Come watch the game, because after the game, we all know what we're doing after the game. Well, we're heading across the street. We're heading across the street to Protective Stadium to go see a rematch of last year's kickoff. We won't say with who, because we'll get into that, but the Birmingham Stallions, baby. We're going to buck them left and right, and we're going to have fun all day and night at SpringStock 2023. But hey, that's just day one. Day two, Zach and I had to take a little road trip, a little field trip over to Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, because there's a little grudge game going on there. You know what, this one will spoil. It's the Michigan Panthers. It's the Houston Gamblers. I'm going all in, and I'm hoping we can repeat what we did last year and, kick those Panthers to the curb.
I'm hunting for a W and some revenge, obviously. By the way, kudos to the league for scheduling. I know that probably wasn't at all concerning us, but kudos to the league for at least putting that down week 1 where we're going, oh, yes, we could do this again.
Yes.
We could go over and watch this game and have this little rivalry set up like we've been doing once a year at this point.
100%.
Get it out of the way early. Bragging rights for a whole season.
Yeah, I know. It's nice. Yeah, get it right out of the way. But here's the thing. Hey, if you're in Memphis, you were kind of on the fence about coming out. You had the home game the day earlier. It was fun. Come hang out with the podcast crew. We're going to be having fun. We're throwing a tailgate, so we're not going to be doing a live stream, but we're going to be doing some fun little events and little games while we're there getting some footage for the show. And maybe we'll do a little bit of a live stream after, do a little game recap, game preview for the next game from like our Airbnb or something. I don't know. We'll figure that one out, Zachy boy. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. We've been planning SpringStock probably since it recapped last year. I mean, so now we're talking about it again. I'm excited to go back to Birmingham. I'm actually getting in town a little bit earlier this year so I could do a little bit more sightseeing. I'm getting in on the Wednesday because I want to go see the Vulcan statue. I got to go get me some Crystal Burger. And our Airbnb is looking stacked, buddy, because we're going to play some pool and some pinball.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I love the location you picked out. And look, I've talked to you enough off the show. I went like a week 4 after the fact, me and my dad doing a father-son trip. Go and check out the stuff, man. There's some good things out there in Birmingham that if you didn't get the chance the first time, dude, go take another look. And I'm glad you're getting that spot, that time to get a little extra look before I get down to town. I'll be out there not as early as him, but close enough to where I could still go and enjoy a few things, and we can, hit up the town.
Yeah, we definitely need to hit up the Eugene's Hot Chicken. I'm excited to get that.
That's like a USFL like player and coach's favorite at this point. Like that thing gets mentioned, and like at least 3 or 4 people go, "Yes, perfect lunch spot." Love that place.
Speaking of which, Eugene's Hot Chicken. You want to sponsor SpringStock? You know how to get a hold of me. Sign you up there. But hey. You know what? We talked enough about SpringStock. I'm going to pass it back to you. We got some, all the fun stuff we got to go through because we got to talk about that before we get to the news. But the news, man.
Oh yes,
good news.
Of course. And like I said, SpringStock. If you're gathering, we can get the full schedule. We gave you one little piece of it, of course, and you can look it up. But we'll break down the whole, at least the big shebang of the thing. Before that, of course, our usual plugs. Social media. Hey, have you followed us lately? Check us out at USFL Podcast on your favorite platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I swear to God, we have a TikTok. So just keep that in mind.
One of these days.
Also, if you're listening to this on our audio version, hey, we got that video version. You want to check that out? Watch us laugh. Watch us do whatever we can that you can't see or do on a video or an audio version on podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Do that. Click the bell, by the way. That's for you guys out there, too. They're subscribing right now and maybe tuning in because guess what? Builds morale, and you don't miss an episode that way either, too. It builds up your confidence. You're going to get to watch a show, and we get to be happy because we get to make sure it goes to you, and you get to catch up and have some fun with us as well.
You know what else they get if they click the bell? You know what else they won't miss? They won't miss me missing my mouth when I was trying to drink that water and spilling it on myself.
I totally missed that. I was making sure I'm giving eye contact. God.
No curtains. I'm sure people saw it. I ain't hiding it. Yeah, it happened. Get over it.
That's how this show works, man. No curtains whatsoever. Also, if you subscribe, by the way, besides getting his shenanigans as well on the side, which I appreciate anytime we record. I love it. You also get entered into a 5K jersey giveaway. We are climbing up that ladder. Once we hit 5,000 subs, we are giving away a fully customized USFL jersey from the USFL shop. Be sure to subscribe. Just have to be clicking on that bell and also that red subscribe icon, and you're getting entered once we hit that 5K mark. Also, looking for some gear, we got a pretty good deal. Breaking Tea, one of the official merchandise partners of the USFL, they are giving us a 10% off coupon for you guys out there. Use code USFL Newsroom. Again, USFL Newsroom at checkout for your purchase, USFL gear, or whatever other leagues you like. They got a ton of other stuff on there that you might enjoy. 10% off your code, and it helps the show at the same time. And we appreciate that little courtesy as well. Now, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this big old episode, which, I mean, there's a lot of meat and potatoes here. It's not just the schedule. Like we said, a lot of other stuff that we need to break down because there's a lot of things that just kind of got either thrown here underneath or right in our faces, which right in our face includes season 2 of the USFL. The full schedule has dropped, as we have hinted. All 4 cities, of course, are going to be hosting games. Those cities, of course, are Detroit, Michigan, Birmingham, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, and Canton, Ohio. And they will have their first 3 weeks where they will be having games in those 4 cities. So
which is important.
You can go out.
Right? Which I think is important, right? Everybody has a chance to go see their team at home within the first 3 weeks, right? They're not stretching it out. There's just that opportunity there. I mean, Birmingham and Memphis, we'll get into that. They play at home, but first week. But if there was the ever opportunity to travel, I mean, there's still some of that in there, which we kind of talked about, which we're actually going to be doing. That's how close it is. But anyway, sorry to steal your thunder. Go on.
No. Because I think that's a key. Like, look, I think you want to have home games is at least where you get it hyped up and you get them in sooner rather than later. I know the Panthers, they have to wait till the 30th, but nonetheless, it gives them a little more time to do tickets and, seasons in season. Maybe you get to watch it a little bit more and you get enticed that way. The Panthers, by the way, we'll get into one part of their schedule. They have a lot of home games in a row. They jammed the home games, just most of them in the middle pack of the year. We'll talk about that in a second. During the season, each team plays division rivals twice, as expected with the breakdowns, and teams of the opposite division, of course, once, similar, very much the same as last year. So keep that in mind. Main difference, of course, remember, Showboats are now here, not the Bandits in the South, as we have known. Week 1 rematches. So this is fascinating. Some of these are my my early games of the season, by the way. Week 1 has a lot of them in particular. But as you can see here, breakdowns of week 1 matchups. So first week, for the Saturday the 15th matchups, 4:30 Eastern time, the Stars are going to be taking on the Showboats in Memphis. So Memphis kicks off the entire shebang of the season at 4:30 Eastern time at Simmons Liberty Bank Stadium. So you'll be able to go out there, especially if you are a Showboats fan. There's a lot of rowdy ones out there. We're looking to see how they fill out that venue, especially against the runner-ups from last year with the Stars. Should be a fascinating matchup. Also on Saturday, and this will be the game we're going to be for sure at and watching again, having deja vu. Right. And as I was going to say, to steal his line, so nice, they're doing it twice. It's going to be the Generals against the Stallions in a rematch. Roughly same time frame as last year. Same place, same 2 diehard teams. And according to Fox Bet, the 2 teams that have the best odds to make it to the championship this season. So should be some fireworks, much like last year, especially since both these teams are either bringing back a lot of key stars or in the Stallions case, it looks like most of the main team is coming back anyway. So, that's 15th. The 16th, grudge match leads things off at noon Eastern. Panthers and Gamblers. That's our grudge match, by the way. We're going to call it the grudge match. We'll do it that way. Same time as last year, too. They kicked things off on that Sunday as well. And we're also, playing each other week 1. And to wrap things up, the Maulers will be taking on the Breakers this year to end things 6:30 Eastern time. That is to be determined. By the way, 3 of these games do have television networks set up according to the USFL website. The Saturday slate, both will be on Fox for those that are interested. Fox, the main broadcast channel. The 16th for the noon game, or the grudge match as we're calling it, NBC has that labeled on their website. So waiting to see the rest of course. They're probably still kind of tinkering through things. Still also waiting to see if there's flex scheduling again, like they were talking last year. I know I saw some folks liked it, some folks didn't, but I think the league, remember, it's a TV company that's running this first. So we're still waiting to see, will they do it again? Speculating on that. I think they will.
Well, given the opportunity, I think, of course. I mean, even the NFL did it, right? I mean, with the Lions, they weren't supposed to have that primetime game. That's the reason the Lions... Oh, wait, we won that game. That's so rare. I just assumed we lost. But anyway, so, but I don't, it seems, I don't know, just from right off the bat, it doesn't seem like that's where they're aiming, but I would expect to see some games change, especially when you're getting later in the season and there's some playoff things on the line. Yeah, that's getting the Fox. That's going to get the Fox or the NBC airtime over maybe Fox Sports 1 or Peacock or whatever it may be. One thing that I noticed out here that I haven't really seen people mention so much, and I think maybe it's because it's a positive thing. I'm not seeing any, because I know last year there was some games on Friday night, and not Friday night's one thing, late games on Friday night. I know me personally, and I live in Central Time Zone. There was times where I was up, I think near 1 a.m, maybe over 1 a.m, watching that.
That was definitely me.
Right.
And I'm East Coast guy.
Right.
Thank God Friday games are dead. And I think that was an overall consensus from the fan base was Friday games, as much as there is a novelty possibly, wasn't as popular.
Right.
And I think that was proven also in ratings. And I think Fox and NBC, obviously, what sells? Weekend games. Football's generally played more on Saturday, Sundays, of course, for the professionals. Or if you're a college-centric guy, which the USFL leans into that college field too. And then, maybe Thursdays, but really it's the weekend, So if you look at that schedule, you're just like you said, there are no Friday games. They killed those off. That should, in theory, to me, and I think to you, hopefully boost some ratings for a few of these as well.
100%.
More people are going to be able to tune in, or they won't be as busy because end of the week, you want to go out, you want to go do things, Saturday, you can also debate that, but also I think there's some people that get busy on Friday and they just want to chill out the next day.
Well, and even looking at that too, Saturday, if you're going out on a Saturday at Saturday night, a lot of these games, there's some that are at 7:30, but you even look at it, there's 4 o'clock. The latest game that we have all season is a 9 p.m. game. There's only one of them, and it's on a Saturday night. That's the one that, that might be the one that you have to miss if you're going clubbing or your girlfriend that wants to go see a movie. But I'd say for the most part, things are looking pretty good. Now, when you kind of teased on this earlier, man, the Panthers, again, if they can go into that week 3 undefeated, they have a whole stretch that they can dominate that midseason on.
Yeah.
And let's be clear here. I think part of that is strategic, right? Because now you're getting in, remember last year, some of those games in Birmingham, once you started getting into late April, May, June, you get some scorchers out there. Well, now you host some of your games up in Detroit, Canton, and even in Detroit, you have the luxury of the Dome, right? So that'll be, I see what they're doing here, but it might, by accident, give the Panthers kind of a leg up. Just getting, because what a time. Let's say the alternative. They go into that stretch 0-2, but now you have a huge 5-game stretch. I think it's 5 games, right?
It's a 4.
4, and then you take a week off, and then they come back or something like that. But either way, they have a nice stretch to where, okay, you get your gears back, get everything working the way that it should. You have your home crowd behind you, and then you start playing on the road right in time to go into the playoffs, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be, I have a feeling this is going to be a fun season to watch just in the different hubs. I know that was a big gripe with, some of the people watching, and you know what? Half fair. I get it, right? I get why they would want crowds in the stands. I can enjoy the game either way, but I can understand. I feel like, especially again, Detroit, again, they come in 0-2 or 2-0, but they get into the rhythm. They're going to start selling tickets. I know some people are worried. I think there's 2 games where they slightly overlap with the Tigers. I have good news.
Yeah, it's a little bit. One of them I know is direct competition in Detroit with the Tigers game.
I have good news.
And that's to be determined. Honestly, I think it really depends on the day and time frame of how that game goes. And it also depends on how good the team is. I'm not going to speak too far on the Tigers, but everything I understand from my buddies is that the Tigers still are not back.
I'll speak on them. I'll speak on them all day and night. So here's the good news. All you need to do, pick any game from last year other than opening game at Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium? Comerica Park. Oh, my God. Oh, man. I just jumped in a time machine on that one. Now. Anyway, go look at any game at Comerica Park last year, and instantly you'll see there's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing to be worried about. Sure, the diehard Tigers fans are going to be there, but when it comes down to like football fans that are into football, I think they're going to go pick the Panthers over the Tigers. And quite honestly, it might even become a thing. Go see the Tigers game, sit there for a couple innings, jump over across the street to Ford Field for the second half. I could see that on some of those games. And there's, I think, one of them that only overlaps partially. So we could even see people come after the Tigers game. You know, maybe they miss a quarter or something like that, but the Tigers game just ended. I think there's one that overlaps like that. Potentially. With baseball, you never know. That'll be the game that goes into 25 innings or something. But I would just say I don't think the Tigers are becoming a World Series team this year. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's something I had heard.
I'm a Tigers fan, so don't get mad at me either.
Oh no, I aware you are. I'm aware you're that. I have another one. I have another 2 Tigers fans at my own job, and they're the same way. Where they're like, I don't know when they're gonna get it together, and I'm like, okay, well, hey, you know, is what it is, and that's kind of where the team's at right now, from what I've analyzed. But that's one element of it. I think the 4 home games back to back. That'll be something to see. Like, okay, you do have some lead into the 30th. But you are going 4 straight home games.
Right.
So that will be interesting. Plus, we haven't gotten season ticket pricing just yet, or single game ticket pricing just yet. So still waiting on something. So that should be coming soon, though, I would think. I mean, they released the schedule. They've got deposits going for all these stadiums. You know, training camp is coming up around the corner. The draft's coming up very much around the corner. So we'll get more of those details soon. But yeah, Michigan, that part's interesting. Something else, by the way, I know we're talking a lot of the Panthers hub stuff, because week 2. So we noticed week 2, they're playing the Stars and they're going, okay, so yeah, they're going to jump to Ford Field. Nope. No, they're not. They will be playing in Canton, Ohio. And I think someone looked up and there's a Luke Combs concert, if I am right, that weekend. So yeah, I'm going to be honest. Ford Field's probably going to say, sorry, Luke Combs wins this one.
100%.
So, but I mean, Canton's still fine to go play a neutral site. Like, look, the Stars are sharing a hub anyway. So them getting to go to Canton, which, as we saw last year, that might actually attract some Stars fans out there, you know, like they did previous. So could be a win for the league. And it's the Hall of Fame. You can advertise that too. But that was a new nugget that kind of got thrown in with the schedule release.
Right. And it has the potential to be a nice, fun game too, right? So Canton getting some good games, because I mean, you have the Generals and the Maulers going into that. A little bit of a stretch in between. One starts at 12, the other one starts at 7. But you know what you could do in between the games, Zach? Go check out the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I mean, it feels like a perfect Sunday to me. It is on a Sunday. Yes, it is. I had to double check.
Yes.
Perfect Sunday to me.
Yeah. Well, good weekend.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Good weekend though. Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, that was a little piece that I think most people were kind of wanting to figure that out. But that should be a good matchup down there. Get a little extra action too. Besides that, so I decided I wanted to check out and kind of put my own games. And we'll discuss these as well, or games we liked as well in the schedule that have me out right off the bat ready for this. And credit, I'm not going too far out because things could change, and it's kind of hard to project how things could be past like the halfway point of the year. So I'm going to stick like within the first 5 weeks. So if you want to hear anything later, I'm sorry, guys, but I don't.
We'll talk about that
predicting.
We'll talk about that at the mid-season review.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So here's the thing. Week 1 slate for Saturday, instantly 2 of my games I'm putting on the highlight reel. Memphis is home opener. It's Philadelphia going to be playing them. And then obviously the second part of the General Stallions matchup, you know, General's revenge game, Stallions home opener once again. Does the crowd get rowdier this time? We'll see.
I almost guarantee it. That's another thing. I just have to see the Stallions crowd come in with a championship team under their belt, and maybe some type of ring presentation. Again, speculation zone. I don't know, but you know, I assume we'll get some recognition that they're the champions. I would assume we'll probably have the trophy at that game, because why wouldn't you? And if you guys weren't planning on it, steal the idea. There it is. Have fun with it.
Here we go. Yeah.
I mean, opening weekend, I mean, the first day's action right there. I mean, it's hard. I'm actually excited for all the games, and I know that's a little bit of a cop-out, but Stars at Showboats, I'm going to run down the reasons. One, first time we're technically seeing the Showboats. First time we're also seeing a new hub. Technically, unless you count Canton for last year in the playoffs, but I would say no, this still counts. First new hub. I'm excited to see that. Stallions, again, I just talked about it. They're getting to come in at home as the champions. You know, they're not playing every game there this year, but they're going to get that recognition. Plus, we got SpringStock there, so you know what I mean.
Of course.
Grudge game. Need I say more? Grudge game. Panthers at Gamblers. And you know what? Do us a solid. Get us on that big screen. I was actually looking for it the other day. I watched the original Grudge game. I was up like late on a Saturday, and I just pulled up the old Panthers Gamblers opening game. It was one of the early times I felt really good about the Gamblers. That's it. But that's all I'll say on that. But then, man, I said, I know we're in this game somewhere. I didn't find it, but I know we're there. Okay. I know we're there. Somebody screenshot it in the Discord.
I remember getting on the Jumbotron, and that was, to me, like my highlight of that game. Besides, actually, no, that was the highlight of my game because that game went horribly for Michigan. For Michigan, just everything went wrong. Shea Patterson's day, it was kind of like a sign of things to come.
Yeah, it was a good day for me. But going on to the last game, Maulers, Breakers. I'm really excited to see this new Maulers team. Beyond the jersey, beyond the new helmets, I want to see the new attitude, the Horton era, if you will. Ray Horton and
Reuben
Jaron
Foster
Horton,
coming to town too.
Foster coming in. I mean, they are going to be a force to reckon with. I think that I said this for a long time, a little bit tongue in cheek, into the off season, but for real now, I mean it. I mean, no joke. This team has the potential to go from worst to close to first or first. Spring football, baby. You got to love it. I mean, it would be boring if they were perpetually the bad team. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think anyone wants that really. But and I also think that they're having some of the most pressure on their shoulders, I think, to deliver because they've made so many of these moves already this offseason. Credit, you also have a new coach in. And again, father-son tandem too. Still is a cool aesthetic and storyline that you can bring up. Which, by the way, Daryl Johnston, recent interview he did with RJ Young, praised Jaron Horton. Actually, thought they were looking at him as a coaching candidate for one of the HC jobs. I think he might be on their radar if, say, something were to open up again, or if they expand. Which, hey, that's not saying that's immediate, but that was a thing people have discussed in future years. So keep that in mind. And that was a great thing. And I like that storyline, plus the black and gold, getting to check that out. Their first game in Canton will be something that I'm watching for to see that fan reaction, which, by the way, that's week 2 against the Generals. So that'll be a fun matchup. Another one I'm looking forward to is, to see week 2 Showboats going to Birmingham. Why? Well, okay. First off, yes, it is another Stallions game, which they kick off, 3 times in a row at Protective Stadium. But Memphis is 3 hours away. You are going to have legitimately, to me, diehard fans traveling that 3-hour distance to go to Protective to watch their Showboats play. It's going to be a little bit more of a mixed crowd. It still will be a lot heavy Stallions, but unlike last year's crowds where maybe you get a sprinkling here or there, now there's legitimate people that can travel there and say, hey, we got you one game on that we can come in on your turf. It's not that hard to get over there from Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
Some of those diehard people I know will go and visit over there in Birmingham again.
I mean, they came out to Canton, right? Yeah. So if they can make it out to Canton, they can make it up to Memphis or, you know what I mean? Like vice versa too, because that's what I'm actually excited to see too, is the reverse. When Birmingham plays in Memphis, those guys, there's a beautiful rivalry that I think could come out, just a fun, beautiful rivalry between the fans. That's what I do love about the USFL community. Ultra Super Fun League, baby. Sign us up.
Oh, yes.
But I'll tell you this, honest with you, there's 10 games exactly that I'm looking at hard on this schedule. All of them, the Gamblers are going to win. And I'm all in on that idea. And then there's 2 more that we don't know who our opponents are going to be, but we're going to go all in and win those 2. I'm just going to, hey, you know what? I got the script for the upcoming USFL season early.
Sorry.
And was all in.
Sorry, I was told that my script has the correct 10-0, which is for Michigan. So you and I might need to talk because someone in the editor's room messed this up.
Yeah, I know. Well, because you couldn't get 10-0, you have to lose at least one game against us.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, I see. Sorry, I was reading that you went 9-1.
Oh man, this is too much fun. I can't wait for that grudge game. Sign us up.
That grudge game's gonna be fun.
I might rage quit though. If the Gamblers disappoint me week 1, I said this last year. I'm such a bad fan.
I think you teeter on like leaving this fan base. You've been doing this all off season on Twitter or on this show, where it's like I'm a Gamblers fan, but like, am I a Gamblers fan?
I'm all in because we're going 12-0. But if we lose that first game, I'm going to have a lot to think about.
I'm all in, but I have a safety deposit box at the bank that has something I can leave with.
We'll see if the Showboats win. I don't know. I'm borderline switching to the Maulers, honestly, because Jaron's in our Discord, and I ain't going to front.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
it. That's I mean, to me, that's pretty cool, right? So, I mean, that goes a long way. But either way, no, Gamblers for real. 12-0, baby.
Oh, of course. Okay, 2 more that I have to list off that I can't leave with. Okay, 3 more. Three more matches. First off, week 3, Breakers Stallions. That's becoming a bitter rivalry. I can't wait to see some of those former players come back and take on the Stallions again. Can the Breakers get over the hump? For Ducky's former team.
Yep.
He's not as worried anymore. He's got the Pittsburgh Maulers doing black and gold colors now. That was his switch. So he's all in on them, as we could say, or he's dropping the hammer. Besides that one though, for me, General Stars, first matchups week 5. Boy, oh boy, I cannot wait because again, as Channing Stribling mentioned on the interview I had with him, there's definitely been some chippiness between those guys. And a lot of those players are returning this coming season. Again, should be fun because boy, that was those last few matchups at the end of the year, back-to-back weeks. Mm-hmm. They were that's true rivalry vibes right there.
100%.
You lose 2 games of the regular season, and your opponent comes and smacks you in the mouth and makes you not go to the USFL championship. Yeah, I'd say you got some blood there for next year. Oh, yeah. Someone's marking that game on a list right now.
For sure, 100%. You know what else I'm looking forward to, though? And again, it makes sense. We're going to be there. The Motor City meetup. We get the first games at Ford Field, which I'm excited to see. I want to see the crowd. And I'm actually, you know what? I'm interested to see if I run into anybody I know. Because I mean, it's my old stomping grounds.
It is your old stomping grounds.
My friends do like football. I mean, of course they'll go. I'll probably tell them to come. But anyway, if you guys plan on coming out to Detroit, April 30th, Motor City meetup, we're doing a tailgate just like we're doing in Memphis week 1, day 2, week 1. Come out. It's Jake and James's birthdays. They're like, one's the 28th, one's the 30th. So we're going to have a good old blowout out there.
Yeah, like I said, do that. The Kyleman clan's going to party out there for sure. Because I got relatives up in Detroit myself. So, you know. Did
you say Grandma Kyleman's coming? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, Grandma Kyleman. Yeah.
I like that.
If she's watching this for some reason. Hey, I don't know if she watches this show, by the way. But my grandma, she's up there not in Novi. It's one of the other small cities up there, and I'm spacing it right there. My aunt and uncle are in Novi though, so they're interested as well. But we're gonna bring out the party too, family style as well. Should be great. I can't wait to be up there for the Motor City meetup. But that one I have to put on my list.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing
that on my list. I already did, but I got to reiterate it. You know, plus. So this is what's funny to me. Mm-hmm. The Generals are becoming like this almost like christening hub team.
Yeah.
Who do we put as the opponent for putting in this new hub? New Jersey. Yeah, they did good in Birmingham.
100%. Yeah. It's actually uncanny a little bit, to be honest with you. But
another so nice for doing it twice.
Yeah. But I mean, just the atmosphere. I'm curious to see, excited to see how many people we can get into Ford Field. I want it to be loud. I want a lot of people there. I want Detroit people to be behind this effing team. That's what I'll say. Even though it's your team, from Detroit, it's like it's my North team. I have a North team and a South team. So when they're not playing the Gamblers, they got a little piece of my heart.
I got a South team as well. It's Birmingham. That's because, again, I got a shout out to those on the thoroughbred tailgating group. Those people, as diehard as you can get, and some of the friendliest folks you'll ever meet. That I am lucky that I got to meet and be part of their fun last year. And they also did a great job helping us, by the way. Party up at Canton last year. Those are as dedicated fans of this league as you will find. It is those people right there.
And
so yeah, that's my Southern team. It has to be Stallions because of that.
Well,
I can't pick another one.
You can't forget to mention he made the most amazing ribeye that I've ever eaten in my life.
Oh, dude.
It was godlike ribeye. I don't eat steak that much. It was so good. I think he converted me just on that alone. I need the recipe, even though we'll never get it because probably like family. His first name's Ray.
Yes, Ray's incredible.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome stuff. Like he goes hardcore with this thing for tailgating.
Well, he rented a whole lot for Birmingham. He's like, I will have a spot to tailgate. I'm renting a parking lot. I mean, it doesn't. That's a fan. Let's be honest here. Sign that guy up.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm thrilled for this year. It's gonna be a good one. Like I said, the first several weeks you're gonna see, I think, so much of what we've been hoping to see. More like I said, more fan interactions, new venues. Teams are gonna get true home and away crowd structure where you won't see as much of the complaints about the home field advantage as last year. It really should be very minimal. I know that there's not every team in their own home city, but there's enough travel to where you can be like, hey, people are getting pressure put on them for coming to a different venue and competing every week as well. So that should be fun. Okay, one more matchup. Sorry, I had to get it out of the way. Memphis and New Orleans, which will both teams travel well to get out there and support their franchises? That's what I'm wanting to see. 3 hours for Memphis, and then it's a little bit farther distance, pushing 5 for New Orleans. However, I think that one could be a little bit of a surprise in terms of the neutral hub setup type of attendance. Maybe one of the better ones in terms of that. Canton, I know it's going to be coming down to how well they market Pittsburgh and the Cleveland markets and seeing how they get out that way. But that one, I think I want to see like, okay, how well does it go year over to year with, say, a true neutral site game like that, and that they're closer markets too. How well does the diehard road fan base travel to this game?
Well, and I'll say this for all Breakers fans that are on the fence about maybe traveling to Birmingham, I'll say this: the more of you that show up, that will help the city, venues in the city, and the league recognize, hey, maybe we should make this happen. Maybe we should make this happen, because if people are willing to drive 5 hours to Birmingham, I bet they'd be willing to drive 30 or 45 minutes to a venue in the New Orleans area.
Well, and shoot, man, you look at the shop, and this is one of the metrics that the league looks at in terms of, hey, does this team work? New Orleans is one of the most popular in terms of merch sales. They're one of the most popular in terms of social media interaction. Right. They got a pretty good core group. So, you keep showing out like that. And again, the plan is next year, at least that's what they're wanting to do. Remember, next year, year 3, the big 3-year idea was all teams, all cities. So you keep showing that, New Orleans, there's no way next season they don't have a team. It'd be surprising. I think, as Daryl and company have said, a lot of it comes down to what is best for the scenario. This is what they did this year. But New Orleans has to be one of those that if you're the league, you're looking at that fan base, you're going, we got to get a team over there, because we get local interactions really well with local news outlets. We get pretty good merch sales from the looks of it. And the fan base is followed pretty well. So they have to be on the radar the most. If I'm speculating for next season, out of the 4 that don't have a home city, they have to be on the top of the list of ones that they're saying we got to get a deal done next season if we have a chance. Yeah,
I tend to agree, which is unfortunate because I really do want all in. Give me my Gamblers home court advantage. And I want to go to games. I mean, we're going to games, but I want to be able to
You want to go closer to your own metro.
Yeah,
area.
Exactly.
That's what you want to do.
Well, and I mean, I want to throw a hell of a tailgate, and it's a lot easier to drive things from my house than to 3 states away.
I get it.
But I'll tell you, when we ever do land in Houston, it's going to be the biggest spring stock ever. I'm telling you, I might not even make it out alive.
Oh God.
It's going to be good. It's going to be, you won't want to miss it. I'll say that much.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, it's going to be glorious. And just, I can't wait for year two. Hey, we're one step closer. This schedule's out now. TV stuff's going to keep on trickling down, Still going to see how that all plays out. I know one of the bigger questions is we've seen, which NBC Sports hinted this on Twitter, is Peacock games. So we know that's coming again. Just when are they going to come? How many are going to be there? Also the cable layout too,
Right.
FS1 and USA should still be in the fray. So we'll see how that pans out.
Right.
Some questions still to be answered, but at least when they're going to be playing. And the whole 10 weeks is there. And if you're on the fence about deposits, well, hey, there's your proof. Now you can focus on, hey, I can go to a certain amount of games. I can deposit for my season tickets with a little more peace of mind that 2 months out, I know what's coming up.
Right. 100%. Yep. It's going to be a fun season. We have so much more to talk about here, and there's much more just in the horizon, right? We got training camps, we got draft, we got all sorts of things coming up. And you know what?
Jersey reveals, by the way.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I have a feeling soon we're going to be able to talk about that stuff as well, right? It just feels, well, I mean, it's around the corner. It's coming up soon. So, we're at that point. It's similar to last year where, things start a little slow. You get one little announcement, two little announcements, bing, bang, boom, 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 left and right, left and right, left and right. Now, we don't have this in the show notes, but I'd be silly not to mention the big game this Sunday, the Super Bowl. Let's remind everybody who's airing the Super Bowl. Well, that would be Fox, the company that owns this beautiful league that we talk about week in, week out, the USFL, the Ultra Super Fun League, the United States Football League. I'm not even going to, I will say speculation zone just to asterisk myself.
Right.
But we got to be getting the Super Bowl ad, right? I've not heard this from anybody. Even if I asked, I know they're not going to tell me, so I just don't ask. But I mean, we've seen we've seen Fox pumping the league in the NFL playoffs. We saw them pumping them last week pretty heavy at the Clash at the Coliseum, which is NASCAR for all those folks that aren't in the know there. But I have a funny feeling that we're going to see some USFL ads. Now, here's where maybe I'll get I'll make it a little bit spicier of a question for you, Zach. Add a little bit of nuance in there. So Super Bowl, right? The game is only so many hours. It's 3 hours. That's the big night spot. The lead up to the game, I think they have 7 hours of pregame. I would say 1,000,000% we're going to see a USFL promo during that. Probably a good chunk full.
So last year, I mean, this is kind of what I think a lot of people had talked about last season, that they're like, oh, I'm surprised because we had been waiting. Remember, NBC put that little ticker on their coverage for the USFL down there. And as we know by now, NBC, they're the second partner. They're a little more passive on terms of promotion. We get that because Fox is really, to me, they're proving that they're ground and keep on showing that off. That being said, I think you do see some stuff. Fox will definitely promote it. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to put promos. They'll rotate them in and out as needed. NBC, that's the one I'll be curious. Will they add another little Chiron blip? Will they maybe run something? To be determined. I'm gonna say maybe at the least they do the Chiron again. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I know you're gonna get ads. You're definitely gonna get some promo for this. I mean, Fox has their whole platform this year. Last year we speculated, well, NBC, they have it, but the more we've learned about how NBC operates with the USFL, the more it makes sense that okay, they are definitely on the broadcasting agreement, but they're definitely not going to promote it as hard as Fox because they aren't owning it. So Fox this year, it's speculation for, I think, the sake of checking a box. But if I left the Super Bowl and didn't see at least one promo, maybe not new, but at least the Hollywood promo again, where they're airing that, I would be left a little bit dumbfounded that opportunity wasn't used. I know there's a lot of money. They sold all their ad retail, but there are spots to put promos for new items for your station. And I think they have to. It's football. Yep. Think about this. The AAF did this as well. I remember at XFL 2020 did it, and they bought their own. They had bought their own. Credit that was Vince McMahon's era, and so they spent a lot. They spent for that. So I think they do it here too. Question is when. My guess, some point, I think in between the break into the halftime show or ending at the end of the halftime show going into the third quarter. That's my guess.
Right.
One of those breaks where you're going to roll a local break and it's going to be a promo lead in. That's kind of how these work. You get a lot of ads. The networks will throw a promo on their feed. And then the local side of this, because again, I work on the local side of TV, so this is how I'm basing it. The local side will then ready it and roll a break off the promo. My guess is they'll have a USFL promo in that one of those ad breaks rolling into a local break to where then you'll have it air, you know, kind of as like a little nugget. So watch out for that. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely, to me, I'm 99.9% sure it's going to happen. Because even dentists can't put 100% on their own thing, so I can't do that either.
So let me ask you, what are your plans for the game? You getting like some game day snacks? You going anywhere? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I have a old college buddy in town. He's going to be hosting his own party, and I'm going to be heading over there for it. I have a friend coming from Illinois. He's meeting up with me, and then we're traveling basically opposite side of town. I'm going to watch that. Keep in mind, I work midnights, so I'm going to be doing the party, and then there's still enough time for me to recoup, and then I'm going to work.
Oh, that's
so,
fun.
you know, I ain't going too crazy. I'm going to have a good time. It's football. It's to me the biggest event of the year that's not a holiday, and you know, and I'm gonna have a good time. You know, it'll be good. Be real good. What are you doing? What are you doing for the Super Bowl?
You know, I'm actually going to go shopping tomorrow, the day that this actually releases. I'm going shopping on Friday, and I'm going to get wings to throw up on the grill. Not throw up on the grill. Oh, my God.
Throw up on the grill.
I mean, it depends. But I'm going to get some wings to throw on the grill. I'm probably going to get some spicy Italian sausage to toss on the grill with like some peppers and onions.
Very nice.
Either that or brats, we'll see. I'm still disappointed about the Packers bar brat, so now I need a good one. Basically, from there, just every type of little snacky food you could think. Like we're probably going to make our own queso, not with Velveeta because Velveeta is disgusting. But we'll probably melt some cheese and do our own thing. The rest of it's my wife's thing. She just likes cooking. It's probably like a good chunk of the reason I married her. She's like the most amazing cook. Now I will say when I first met her, I don't know what happened. She may have sold her soul to the devil or something. I'm not quite sure because I swear she's one of those people that would like burn water. Now she makes like gourmet meals. Don't care. Don't ask questions. It tastes good. But yeah, she likes football. She likes watching the games, but she likes doing all that kind of stuff. And it'll probably just be me and her watching it. Strangely enough, Zach, not many of our friends out here watch football.
Really?
Which is weird because we're in Texas.
Yeah, you're basically in the capital of the sport.
I don't know what it
as Patrick Mahomes puts, the best state for the sport in the high school level.
Yeah, one of our couple friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, right, that type of thing. Neither of them watch any sports. They're great people, but it always fascinates. Every time I try to talk sports with somebody, it's like right over their head, like even at a basic level. But we'll have fun watching the
USFLs you're in, man. That's what you got to be on. Like, see this game, summer, extra football, stories that you want to root for the underdog. That's the level you want to check out. Check that out.
Yeah.
You can go check the NFL, but go check this out.
I think they would have more fun with it. Yeah, I would love to. I'll get them to watch a game this year. Don't you worry.
Be that liaison. Yeah. You're the guy out there.
Hell yeah.
The dedicated Gamblers fan you are.
And they'll hate me maybe because I made them Gamblers fans. We'll see.
Wait, why do you got a different hat on today? Yeah. Well,
Oh boy.
Sorry guys.
Yeah. Is what it is, but all right. Super Bowl time. We talked about that. This one though, next story coming up here. I didn't expect this to be talked about. Mike Pereira, he made a little stopover at Outkick 360. And this is what I love about these interviews is, you can have Mike Pereira do 1 million interviews. You have Daryl Johnson do 1 million interviews. And usually at least once, maybe they'll bring up the USFL. But every so often, you get a beauty like this where, we got a decent amount of information
Yes, we
on
did.
season 2 rule changes, and not like speculation on what they think they might do, what they might not do. It seems like they're pretty clear cut on some of these changes coming up. Now, here's, to me, the big thing that I've taken out of it. There's not a lot of changes, which is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them, like, clearly they were happy with what they had last year. There's a couple things that they wanted to adjust, and we'll kind of get into that here. But they're not like reinventing the wheel. They're not like, I think back of the original XFL, 2001. Vince McMahon was changing rules, and people made a deal about, the USFL changed a couple rules mid-season. Vince McMahon was changing like hardcore rules mid-season, late season, going into the playoffs, where they probably would have been doing that season 2 as it went on. Whereas now we're seeing, hey, they were happy with what they had, make a few changes, just kind of adapt. And I would compare it to, we see changes in the NFL, the NBA, MLB pretty frequently, but not a lot. And I would say this is a nice comparable there. Initial thoughts before we kind of like jump into it.
Well, look, I think that last year, the league itself kind of, they jumped in, Fox jumped in, that is, and they learned about some things about running a football league. It was their first year. They set it up, and they did a lot of, I think, learning curve type of material. And they adjusted plenty of things that went in the right direction by the end of the year. I think overall fans were happy for, even if it was mid-season rule changes, they were happy to see them because they were good quality rule changes.
They were the right change
at the end of the day. Yeah. And yes, they helped out. And actually one of them that we're going to mention here is it's adding on to one, because I didn't think this one would go further. Mm-hmm. So right now, like, I see these new ones we're going to talk about. I'm okay with them, but also the one in particular I'm hinting at, I am fascinated, how much does it really affect the game? Because that one is in tandem with a second rule change that I think is to help adjust this. So I'll keep that in mind as we follow along. I'll lead in. Why not?
Sign you up.
Let's just jump in. So biggest one right off the gate that I'm just going to jump in on. The clock rules are being adjusted again. So if you remember last year, they were doing, they essentially sped up the clock. Like first quarter, they would essentially have incomplete passes. They would continue running the clock. There was no clock stoppages or anything like that.
First and third
this
quarter.
Time around, it will now be second and fourth quarter will have the same deal. So last year in the second and fourth quarter, played like a normal football game. Incomplete pass, nothing to worry about. This year around, you're going to see incomplete passes or any stoppages like of that nature. They will keep rolling the clock until the last 5 minutes of the second and fourth quarter.
Which I think saves it, right? Because what you don't want to do, like, and Pereira brought this up. You're probably going to lose a couple plays out of this. I don't think we're going to lose a lot. By them not doing it in the last 5 minutes, and I would have even sufficed with the last 2 minutes, but I think 5 is good, is you don't screw over somebody's opportunity to have a hell of a comeback.
Correct.
Because that clock's still running. And kind of what I teed up to when we were talking about this, it's really minor adjustments, but the reason around this is they really want to keep these games under 3 hours. It was one thing last year.
That's a hard target,
right? Well, it's one thing last year when all your games in Birmingham, you're sharing one field, so the other team can't hit the field. Well, now they're in different hubs. So you really don't want that overlap, especially because you're, in the case of the first weekend, they're both on Fox and they are running. There is like 3 hour gap and then the next game starts, right? I think this will get them through that because there were some games last year that they went on. They did carry on where I think this will help them achieve that. Now, let's say they get halfway through the season and there was one too many games that were decided by this rule. Maybe we tinker. Pereira did mention that unlike last year, they're not aiming to make any rule changes throughout the season. They feel confident with where they're at. They feel confident with these adjustments. But again, I wouldn't fault them if the opportunity presented itself where it's the right change to make. Why wait?
Sure. I think he's putting it out there too that last year, I think people can give it more of a pass that, okay, it's your first year. You're trying to build this league. I mean, that's the thing. They kept stressing, Fox jumped in on this, and, they have experience broadcasting. They had some, of course, broadcasting the 2020 version of the XFL and seeing those ways about it, having Daryl Johnston there and having it in multiple leagues that he was involved in. He knows too, but you still, as a TV company, you're building a football league. You're basically doing something you haven't done before. So that is what they were basing on. This year, though, I can see why they're saying, okay, we're trying to not do that, because I think you can get away with a lot easier season 1 for like a casual fan. Season 2, people might start questioning, okay, now why are you doing it again? I thought we had the rules set, maybe just because it's more established. That's my consistent thing on that. However, some of the rule changes, I think, are doing it because it's a TV company, and also because modern sports, and they're trying to be different than the NFL in terms of, hey, we're trying to have a competitive, fast-paced game that also gets viewers in and lets them experience it without feeling like it's dragging on. Because for some reason, I've kept looking into this, because it's not just the USFL that's done this. We've seen this with the XFL's iterations, arena football, by the way, the AFL before it went under last time, by the way, it's back. I'll throw that in there because that was big. Their whole shtick was 3-hour games. Apparently the 3-hour magic number is, I guess, where the threshold is for the casual audience fan or the fan that's not a diehard. That's when they'll cut off apparently the most of the time. They'll say, okay, I'm out. It's too long. So that's part of it. I think also TV scheduling, these are TV companies working on this, NBC and Fox. You want to appease NBC as well, because you are their partner. They paid into this, and I think you want to keep it as close to that range as well. Because advertisers also, I think, as we've seen and I've seen in my job, they like keeping in a time frame, and they like making sure their stuff's in and that they're having the most audience as possible to view their ads. So that 3-hour mark not only doubles as a viewership sake of we want the viewers for ratings, but your advertisers need to be happy on what they bought in terms of the stock that they put in their ads.
Oh, for sure. 100%. At the end of the day, I think Pereira's right. We'll probably lose a couple plays per game, per quarter at least. But, I don't think it'll be enough to sway anything, especially with that stoppage 5 minutes going into each quarter. So we'll see. We'll see if they have to adjust. I think they'll adjust, but I think at minimum we'll probably keep it throughout this season.
Now, the one rule I say that is the counter to this. So I feel like you have a checks and balances here with how they did 2 of the rules. The third one I think is just a good graces rule, and I'll get into it last because people just have been saying thank you about it since. But to directly counter the extra 5 minutes you're going to have running clock, they're trying to also keep the scoring, I think, up pace or possibly increase it. That's the thing. They, what do people like in modern day football? They like high scoring games. So the kickoff, they had it at the 25 last year, which is pretty far back considering the NFL's is, pushing it upward towards the 30-yard line. Yeah. So now the kickoff is at the 20-yard line. Which, if you're thinking about that as a football fan, you're going, they moved it 5 yards back. Well, yeah, you know what that means? Again, less touchbacks, deeper returns. Deeper returns generally generate more points for the offense. So that, to me, is a counter to the running clock because, sure, you might have a few less plays, but if you have a good return team and you get that ball, say, down to the 40, 45, odds are you get a few good plays, you can at least get a field goal, you get a much easier chance of a drive for a touchdown. That's how you counter the running clock, is you give a shorter distance of field to it, and I don't think you can really change it much beyond that. It almost 20 yard, it's only a 5 yard difference, but it does mean the world.
Oh, sure.
If you keep moving it back, it almost looks comical, but I like that change if you're countering what they're doing with the clock to keep that 3 hour time frame. Should make more scoring, I hope. That is what I think will happen in this instance.
100%. Well, let's even just look at some stats. So this is what Pereira had to say. We're going to make one slight adjustment to the kickoff. We like kickoff returns. 81% of our kickoffs were returned last year, kicking off from the 25. Well, they're trying to get it to the 90. So we're going to we're going to kick off from the 20. So that's what we discussed here. And they're hoping to get that number from 81 last year up to 90%. That's basically what they're doing. And I think
that's achievable.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not 100%,
5-yard
90%.
difference yeah, like you're saying, you and I are basically saying the same thing over each other. Mm-hmm. A 5-yard difference is a ton in kicking.
Sure.
That is a lot more of a distance than you think. 5 yards, think about this, an end zone, is 12 yards deep. Mm-hmm. So you take 5 yards, that's almost half your end zone distance removed off a kick. And in theory, that should also remove the distance off of where you're returning to. So I could see kicks being kind of returned, like getting grabbed at, say, like the 10, at more like the 15, 20 yard line this year.
Yeah.
And if you get you get at least 15, 20 yards down the field, in the worst case scenario, that's the 30-yard line. Best case, you're going to be getting, if it's 20 and say at the 20-yard, you're getting at the 40. To me, I think you're going to see a lot more of these kicks going at like between the 35 and 45-yard range this year.
Right.
Which should hopefully, scoring was decent last year. That should hopefully continue that progress this year. And again, counters the running clock. Mm-hmm. Better chances of scoring drives while that running clock happens.
No, absolutely. Now, I'll let you tee up the last one, but they seem to be pretty excited about this rule change here, the forward fumble rule. And like you mentioned, people have been talking about this.
Yes, they have. And I almost interrupted you. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good.
What I was going to say now is this one, I think, got the most exposure online when it was when people kind of brought this up from this discussion on Outkick. Because in the NFL and in other football leagues, the rule is if you fumble the ball and it goes through the end zone, say you fumble it into the end zone, it goes out of bounds in any way, shape, or form. The defending team gets the ball as a touchback. That's the rule, which, that hasn't really, I think in recent years that was brought up and people have said, wait a minute, why does that make sense? It's still an out of bounds and no one's recovered the ball. Why does the defending team get that said discussion? I think the rule is, the fumble, it's in the defending team's end zone and thus it's, it can then be considered change of possession because it's what they're trying to protect. I digress. I think many others kind of looked at this rule and saying it's a little old and it need to be updated anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think Pereira also being, again, a head of officiating at one point, also Fox's own correspondent for officiating besides Dean Blandino, I think he's looking at this and going, yeah, that's kind of a silly rule to think about anymore. Mm-hmm. So to kind of safeguard that discussion, that's a good small rule change. It doesn't happen all the time, but, why would you risk it and why get people in a tizzy over it?
Sure.
I think it's a good loophole to cover. And really, to me, the offense should still have the ball anyway. No one recovered it. The last person to possess it was the ball carrier itself.
Right.
The main rule is you're in any part of the field of play, the defender still has to possess it with 2 feet inbounds or at least a body part that represents 2 feet before they go out of bounds has to be inbounds when they get the ball possessed. So this is a good rule change. It's not as big of an impact that you might see right away, but if it does happen, someone's going to say, thank God the USFL did this, because the NFL definitely has gotten flack in the past for keeping this rule change. And that was only a few years. Mm-hmm. This has only been the recent years. This is a good one.
And maybe this one. And maybe this will lead the NFL to changing it, right? Because that's a big part of spring football. We always see it's kind of a little bit of a test, a little bit of an innovation before maybe it moves on to the NFL. But yeah, it's good to see fans talking about these rule changes in a positive light. I think if they would have came out and there was a lot of changes to the rules last year, maybe they would have been positive, but I think that would have opened it up for some more negativity, tearing it apart a little bit. They don't feel confident with the product they had, but this feels like they were confident. There's just those small, real little adjustments. Like you said, we took a little bit away by keeping the clock running, but we're giving you a little bit more with the kickoff rules. And hey, by the way, here's a little cherry on the top of the forward fumble rules. So, hey, all in all, I'm not mad at it. Glad to see it. And honestly, I'm a little surprised that we're seeing it this early. I thought we'd see it maybe closer to training camp, but hey, you love to see it. Sign us up.
Yeah, dude, I'm very glad they did. Like I said, they changed things over. They're getting it out of the way. And it's funny because Outkick, like I said, if you don't catch it, or if you're not right on Outkick, and they have a good fan base. Outkick's by the way, a Fox property that was recently purchased up, and they're doing their own sports and other coverage on the side. That one is a prominent place that if you're watching, oh yeah, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So shout out to them, those guys at Outkick 360 for grabbing that. And hey, Mike Pereira, thanks for introducing us to those rules, because Yeah, very important, especially the timing and the kickoff rules. Those will be impactful right out of the bat week 1.
I am just so excited for this season. I know one thing that people have been asking about is, well, I know Jake specifically has been asking about defensive coordinator for the Panthers, defensive coordinator for the Panthers, defensive coordinator. It seems like every day we're getting a question about the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. Well, you know what? So nice they're doing it twice. We're using that one again. We got 2 new defensive coordinators here, one of which is the Panthers. Showboats coming in, Pepper Johnson, he moved on to a new role. So what I do love to see out of Coach Haley here, instead of hiring from outside, hire from within. We're seeing the defensive backs coach from last year, Carnell Lake, come in and move up into the defensive coordinator role for the Showboats, which has made, not on the defensive side, but they got a big signing that we'll be talking about a little bit after this. But your guys, the Panthers, I'll throw that one over to you because, you got to be happy that now you got a new head coach and now the picture's starting to come together, really.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased that we finally, as I got that all shored up. Jake as well is probably happy too to see that. Steve Brown, who he's had NFL experience with the St. Louis Rams. He played for the Houston Oilers back in the day from 83 to 90. He also was last in the college scene here with Kentucky and also with Eastern Tennessee State in the secondary coaching section. He's joining up. So he'll be taking the reins. Mike Nolan, when he was Mike Nolan actually was interviewed for part of the schedule release for the Panthers, and he sounded very enthused about everything that's coming up here, as well as for Steve. So Coach Brown, welcome to the Michigan Panthers. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do. Glad to have you aboard, man. Good to have that stuff shored up. And again, a lot of coaching changes again. Either new opportunities elsewhere. We've seen, of course, the other league, as we've said, the XFL. They have plenty of others from the USFL that have gone over, or folks just leaving for different opportunities. As for Carroll's sake, former DC of the Panthers, he's over in Coastal Carolina now. So
right, yeah,
he's doing his own thing over there. He got, I believe, his co-defensive coordinator over there for his new position. So he's getting a new opportunity at a very good lower 5 college school, or college program with Coastal Carolina, one of the better ones in the country. So, and one that he's returning to. So good for him as well. But yeah, great to see this stuff. Honestly, the Carnell Lake one I thought was, I like hearing about that for the promotion within. And Lake's got a good background too. He has experience. There's a reason why him and Haley are together. They were on Pittsburgh at the Steelers at the same time. For Lake's sake, he was the defensive backs coach for Pittsburgh from 2011 to 2017. He also played for the Steelers between 1989 and 1998 as well, along with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Baltimore Ravens as well. And, again, was with the Bandits last year, kind of his next big getting back into coaching experience. And now he's a DC. So he'll get to be working under Haley. Those two should hopefully know what they'll know what each other wants. They work together. So, they'll definitely understand what they need to get executed. But yeah, good to see promotion within, and for and for a guy that, I think gets to get back in the reins of things as well.
For sure. And perfect timing, because like we said, we got draft coming up, training camp coming up. You definitely want these hires in place before either one of those, especially the draft, because you're building the roster. These are the guys that are going to be molding how your team actually plays on the field. So love to see it happen. And, just from the Panthers side, we're retaining some of the staff, but with the new head coach, a new hub in place, it might just be the changes you needed to really kick things up. And, we already talked about that mid-season stretch. Feel like you guys have a little bit of unfair advantage there, but it doesn't matter because the Gamblers 10-0 all in, 12-0.
Hey, we got to win, baby. That's the thing. Got to win. If you got that 4-game stretch, got to win those games. Like I said, to me, here's the thing. First off, get more than 2 wins this year, and against not just the Maulers. Although, hey, the Maulers could also come back and be like, excuse me, and go ask. I don't know. Panthers have also done a good job to me over the offseason. But nonetheless, over 2 wins. If you can finish that homestand 3-1 at the least, I would be thrilled. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for that. Hey, all the pieces are in place now. Nolan, it's funny. I got to bring this little quip up again with RJ Young interviewing, executive vice president, Daryl Johnston recently. He actually quoted Mike Nolan as arguably, quote, the second friendliest head coach in the USFL, only behind Mike Riley, he gave that credit to him last season.
Hey, sign him up. You gotta love Mike Riley. One. So if he's putting in the same category,
it is extremely hard to have anything to be angry about Mike Riley about.
So yeah, if he's going to be put in the same category as Mike Riley, I would say, yeah, this dude.
This is the man that scouts out games, eating his dinner in the stands.
Maybe we'll get that footage. Mike Riley eating his sandwich, Nolan wearing a 3-piece suit.
I hope
sign us up, please.
Suit. I hope to God he wears a 3-piece suit. That would I think make everyone's day. I think in USFL social teams would be going nuts. Yes. The 3-piece suit got broke out. Get the camera out. Get the video.
Yes, sign us up all day and night on that.
All right. Last thing, we can't leave this episode without it, and this came down just less than 24 hours before we jumped on here. So obviously, if you're a fan of this show, you might also track the other leagues. And there's one quarterback we were hoping was going to join the USFL last year that did not because he was, in Chicago. And he was going to be on the XFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks. These XFL is doing their own cut downs, of course. And before those said cut downs, they also had some people that wanted to releases. Ryan Willis, who is the former Spring League MVP from the 2021 season. By the way, if you remember, Spring League is the origins of this version of the USFL. He asked for a release. He was released without much notice or without much of a wait.
No,
the Showboats quickly just plucked him up. So Memphis, you got yourself a pretty good quarterback.
Yep.
Which that room, by the way, it's kind of becoming crowded. Like it's not just him. Like I've heard good things about Cole Kelly, and then you got Brady White, who's kind of like the brand ambassador right now for the Showboats down there. Like that's going to be a heated QB battle now this season. I'm not sure who's walking out of that one.
Well, it's interesting too, and you can look at it a couple ways. I mean, the Showboats and Coach Haley have put themselves in a good position because I know once I saw Ryan Willis was a free agent, I was screaming it from the top of the hills. USFL, call this guy as fast as you can. Yeah, I don't know. I saw him at the Mega Bowl, one of the few live in person. Watched him win that MVP, and the dude is a stud. I'm super excited that he's in the USFL. But here now, Haley has a great opportunity ahead because he has solid QB competition. Surely, you can't play all three of them. Well, now you have really good trade ammunition, right? For maybe Houston. Maybe they're having some, working on some things in Memphis. Maybe they need some help on the front line, defensive line, something like that. Hey, we got 3 quarterbacks. Houston, you got all this. Let's maybe make a swap on some of these guys.
I would like to see how this would work because it won't happen this year because we didn't see anything like this. But the farther the seasons go, you got to think that GMs are going to get a little more creative and say, well, we can give you draft picks for that. Because, again, they're doing another draft. Like, in theory, I know you can do that to me where it's like, hey, maybe here's his contract this year, but we'd like to have maybe like your later round pick in 2023 or for 2024.
Right.
I'm saying? Like, that's what I think I want to see is like, if you were able to do that, could you do that? We haven't heard much about it because most of the trades have been player for player or rights. They're trades of rights. But like, I'm curious, man. I kind of think that this is the year you have your second year under your feet. Maybe GMs, now that the player personnel guys are GMs, they get a little creative. They start asking around, hey, what is going to take to move one guy over to my squad? Can I give you a pick? Do you trust that I'll give you a pick? And I think, again, with the league getting more stable as it's been, I think you get a little more confident. Maybe you do trade that 2024 pick,
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think at minimum, I think we'll see the GMs get more creative. As these guys want players, they're going to find a way to get the players they want, right? Maybe there was a guy in the draft they wanted, and they get picked up. They'll find a way to get them, right? Everybody's been around the block, and I wouldn't put it past it. Like, hey, we'll give you this guy and a late round pick. Even it out maybe a little bit. Either way, man, I'm just super happy to see Ryan Willis in the USFL. I know in the lead up to last year, I was really hoping we'd see him. Like you mentioned at the time, he was signed with the Bears practice squad, so I get it. I think had he been available, we probably would have seen him last year. And honestly, you know what? I think people are about to find out who the hell Ryan Willis is.
Yeah.
If I throw a fit at the Gamblers week 1, I might become a Showboats fan just because Ryan Willis. It all depends. I mean, and really at the end of the day or at the beginning of the season, we'll see. Ryan Willis may be on a completely different team. Maybe he'll end up moving around. Maybe this is Haley knowing he has a good quarterback camp ready, but stopping the competition from getting him without at least sending the Showboats a little something in return.
Sure.
So,
well, and look, if you aren't sure who Willis is at this point, like I said, the Spring League, look up 2021 Spring League highlights. He was the best QB in that league. Came out slinging, and there's some good QBs in there too that weren't just him. Like, think about this. And at some point during those playthroughs, and I'm going to list off guys that are in the XFL. DeAndre Francois, he was in the TSL. Kevin Anderson, he was also in the XFL. He was with the TSL in that same year. Brandon Silvers joined up in that league later on in the season. There are some good quality talents and some folks that are also still in the USFL that are now in this league too. So Willis is the guy. He is a good quality player. If you're a Showboats fan, you got quite a QB battle to watch, but Willis definitely, I think that signing, sends a message that, a guy like that leaving where he did and being available and being snapped up that quickly, that to me means something. They have to be looking at him as as one of their main guys that they think will indeed win this job. Yeah. By the end of training camp. Like, you don't pick up a dude that fast without having scouted and waited to see if he'd be available or not.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I think Ryan Willis will be starting in one of the 8 USFL teams this year, whether it's the Showboats or if he moves on just because they have.
Which, by the way, I'm surprised with the Showboats. I actually thought because of his. Remember, with his TSL appearance, he played under Hal Mumme.
Yep.
Air raid offense. I thought he was going to go to Kevin Sumlin's camp over in Houston.
I was hoping
because I thought they could use the reinforcements. I know some people really like Kenji Bahar, but I think that a little more competition out there with him and Montel Corzart would have done wonders. But I digress. Willis is in the league. That's a big win, I think, for the league in terms of the talent level anyway. I just was surprised with the Showboats. I really thought he was going to go down to Houston as maybe an option because I think they could have used that help. But hey, if Bahar shows up or Cozart shows up, then no one will be talking about it anyway.
Oh, 100%.
That's the deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, it's always funny to say, like, once you get if you go undefeated, it doesn't, all of a sudden, those thoughts you had don't matter anymore. Hey, we were undefeated. That's our guy. Sign us up. But no, I think Showboats fans, if things work out, I think they're going to be happy with what they get out of Ryan Willis. I think Coach Haley's going to be happy with the performance that he gets there. And I mean, if I wasn't already excited for the USFL season, I'm even a little bit more excited now just seeing this news and knowing that there's still a couple other free agent guys floating around that I wouldn't doubt if we see in here. Let's remind everybody that Brian Scott, also an MVP of the Spring League, is also a free agent right now. I've heard rumors of USFL. I've heard rumors of CFL. I'm not going to speculate on it, but I assume if there is going to be a move, it's probably going to happen soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be coming up here. Again, the fact that you have training camp going to be, at least from what we understand, mid-March. There's not really been anything yet that's been official on there. And then, you got the draft coming up too. Things are going to have to be finalized soon enough, especially for the roster size limits getting hit soon. So, right. I would think if he's going to get signed, it's going to have to be pretty soon. And that comes down also to him and his agent debating on where they want to go.
Sure.
Because if the rumor is that he's going to pick between the CFL and the USFL, my question is to this. Scott, it's been mixed reports on why he left the XFL. One of them is that he wasn't getting a starting job. And so to me, if I'm looking at that report, if that's true, by the way, it's all over the place right now because of how it's been. But if you're looking for a starting job, ask yourself this. Will he get it in the CFL or will he get it in the USFL? Or is it about, getting the paycheck, which there's some players, it's about, keeping a living as well and getting to play what you like. I think that's your make or break on what you decide on. And to me, if a team wants him and if he can compete for that job and start like he wants, then they'll go for him. That's the deal. I think at some point, like decisions like this, it comes down to, well, what's the player want? Do they want finances? Do they want starting? Do they want just game? Do they want game tape? What is it that they want? In this case, it almost sounds like Scott, to me, wants to play and start.
Yeah.
So that's the essence. When you think about this decision on your end as a fan, what do you think he wants in particular? I think he wants to start. I think there's opportunities in the USFL to do so over the CFL.
I mean, honestly, I'll be straightforward with you. I think there's probably opportunities in both, but I think
it depends. I guess that depends on the team. In that case, and again, I mean, injuries do happen as well. The CFL is, it's a respectable league. It is the definitive second league, in terms of the space around, because it's the second longest running and it's has its history and fans and really good following in it too.
Here would be my take though with the CFL. I mean. This is not a knock against the league, but as Americans going to play over there, let's not forget there's an exchange rate, there's travel, there's taxes, there's a lot of little nuances and differences where I almost feel like it makes more sense to explore the avenue of the USFL, see what the options are there before moving to the north, but. I'm not him. I'm not his agent, and I'm not in that position. So I'm not going to be mad at wherever anybody ends up or however they play. But season is coming up, and, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'll say. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him pop up in the USFL or the CFL. But, I'm sure there's going to be some people that'll be happy that he is back in the USFL because, the dude was a stud in those first few weeks before he got injured. It was quite amazing that Case Cookus came in and, carried that on, right? I don't, that was a pretty big shock. So I think the question then becomes like, okay, if Brian Scott does come back to the USFL, does he still land on the Stars? Does he maybe move? I don't know how the rights work with that. If, the Stars carry that over and now he's trade, who knows?
Well, that's what's fascinating as well. You talk about the Stars. So, again, scheduling releases, they kind of talked to a lot of the coaches all across the board. Bart Andrews said he is, quote, hopeful that Case Cookus will indeed be returning for 2023. I think a lot of people are really waiting for that foot to drop, is to see that transaction come across the wire, especially Stars fans. I think that makes or break where the Stars stand in terms of where the potential for next year. And plus, Brian Scott, like, that's the thing. Part of what happened, it was not his fault. He got injured in Philadelphia, but, Case Cookus did supplant him in Philadelphia. So if Cookus is back, I don't see that happening. That's the thing.
Sure.
If I look at the league, to me, again, I say Houston to me makes the most sense. Unless, like I said, unless Kevin Sumlin really loves Kenji Bahar or Montel Cozart, to me, that makes sense in terms of competition.
Right.
Because that to me is a guy where you can see Scott stepping in, be more of that guy that wants to sling the rock around and be more of what Kevin Sumlin wants. He likes to throw the rock around a lot more. He likes to get those passes out there, and they were getting that down later in the year with Clayton Thorson. They just, need to finish games. So get someone like that can keep your offense moving at the pace it wants. Scott can be that guy.
Yeah.
But it comes down to if teams want him too. You got to talk to the GMs and all that.
For sure. And honestly, I'd love it. As a Gamblers fan, I'd take Brian Scott. Dude probably would have been the MVP last year, like we were talking about. I think it was the Breakers is what I heard on the USFL side. So, we'll have to see, because that's another one. Let's say he does go to the Breakers. Now you have another QB battle over there, because it's not like a bunch of slouches just hanging out. So
no, Akil Glass is over there. Davis Cheek, I've heard a lot of good stuff about.
So I don't know. We'll have to see how this wacky season rolls out. We still got a little bit over 2 months to go. And holy smokes, are we getting the fun news now? And it's going to feel like tomorrow that we're partying in the pub again at SpringStock, getting ready to head across the street to Protective Stadium to go see the Stallions take on the New Jersey Generals again. And man,
I'm
I am
thrilled.
counting down the flipping seconds.
65 days as of our recording. It'll be 64 when you see this, of course. But 2 months out.
Mm-hmm.
2 months away, people.
Oh, yeah. And it's getting
It's
real.
going to be sooner than you think.
And we'll be here to talk about it. So sign you guys up.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good times are ahead. I think that's about it right now. Like I said, there's more things on the horizon that are coming up. There's going to be plenty more. I mean, hey, we're waiting on like the jersey reveals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The draft, which is indeed around the corner. It is, from what we understand, and what people have been reporting and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 2 weeks away. So, something to keep in mind. At least that's what people have been reporting. Just giving you a heads up. The league hasn't said anything.
Zone.
Right. The league hasn't said anything official yet. So just, keep that in mind. But that is what's been kind of widely been spread around the internet. So yeah, should be coming up here. Pretty exciting stuff for that. And a lot more ahead, tickets, season tickets and all that jazz. There's a lot more, training camps. When we hit that too, I can't wait to talk to players in training camps. I already got one of them, returning player. I'm definitely going to be excited to talk to. I'm waiting to talk to Terry Myrick.
Oh, sign you up.
Because Terry is going to be playing in Detroit, and he is an alum of Eastern Michigan, where he'll be practicing at. He has already messaged me saying it is fairy tale-esque levels of type of realization being able to play and practice at his alma mater and in Michigan like that. So I definitely am going to be hitting him up. He'll be interviewed during training camp. That'll be a fun conversation. So
yeah, I'm looking forward
spoiler
to that.
alert. Going to be setting that one up for sure. Be ready for that interview.
Oh, that's going to be a good interview. I know there's a couple that we're trying to get set up as well. So I mean, look forward to those. Like at SpringStock, there's a big one that we're working on.
Man.
So hopefully, if everything works out, I feel like everyone's going to be pleasantly happy and maybe surprised with how awesome SpringStock is this year. It was awesome last year. But Zach, after we did that show, after we did Summer Stock, I think we figured out the things that work and the things that we need to fix to where this year, man, I'm feeling good about the production quality of it, the traveling, just everything. We got it out of our system. We're just like the USFL. We're going into season 2 and building,
You get 2 live shows of, 3+ hours a piece under your belt. You kind of learn some things.
Yeah.
So this one, trust me, we've learned a lot. We've talked a lot in the off season about this. I fully expect us to have a even better streams than last year coming up, and they're going to be fun. I just can't wait to get back to Birmingham. And I can't wait to check out Memphis when we get a chance. Yeah. Even though I know it won't be the Showboats game, it'd still be cool to go to the Liberty Bowl. Never been, but it has such a historical presence in college football and in the alt football scene as well. I'll at least get to check that off the box.
You know what we're doing after the game?
Well, a possible live stream, getting to hang out.
Loser buys tickets to the Graceland tour, and we're going to Graceland, baby.
All right, so there you have it. That's the grudge match prize right there.
Graceland, sign us
That's
up.
The prize.
I love Elvis, but yeah, I mean, after that, then we're watching the other game. And somewhere in there, we'll get a stream. Maybe we'll stream from Graceland. I'll get on the horn with them and see if they're down with that. I have a feeling they're not going to be okay with it. But sometimes the answer is always yes, and you just do until you say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I didn't know. Why do you have a table in here with two computers and microphones set up? Oh, I thought it was totally fine. God. What do you mean?
I don't know what I would say if we were given clearance to be like, yeah, sure, you can stream this event. What are you doing again? Oh yeah, you can do that.
I'll dress up like Elvis. I don't care.
All that foot traffic will be like, yeah, man, I get to go. Who the heck's this guy?
Yeah, who are these? Why is this guy wearing a ref shirt in Elvis's old house?
What's all the hype about?
Either way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready. I don't even, honestly, I don't know. I feel like I've been through Tennessee, but I definitely haven't been to Memphis. I've never definitely stayed there. So
I passed through
another city to knock off the list. And I know I'm going to be there a little bit shorter time than Birmingham, but honestly, I'm getting in Birmingham so early. Maybe I'll drive up to Memphis. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's a couple crystal burgers on the way.
Check off we got to at least check off either one of the two. We got to check off either barbecue or going to a blues joint before we leave. So that's one of my two I have to do. I don't care which one it is.
We could probably knock off both in one tick. A blues barbecue place.
I mean, we could do that. Like I said, I want to if we can end the night with a music session at a blues club, that would be like my ideal. Yes, I capped off the entire SpringStock trip and circuit with something with just a perfect like end cherry on top. You know?
I'm totally happy with that idea. I'm signed up on that. And it's not Easter this year, which is unfortunate. I was, kind of looking forward to spending Easter with you again, Zach. But the good news is more things will be open for us.
True.
Because that was like the only thing open was Crystal Burger. That was it. We had no other choices.
Good memories getting the Crystal Burger and kind of vibing with that experience. But yeah, that was that's the only downside of an Easter game is all. So I don't know, man. I mean, it is what it is. I think that they just want. I think Easter moves around every year, and I think they just were like, screw it, keep it mid-April like last season. So hey, if it lands on Easter, lands on Easter, I guess. Or you can, one of the leagues you can say Happy Easter from the USFL.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
What you need. Send the news press rooms again an egg like last year.
Send us one too. We like chocolate.
Yes. Can we
Come
get
on now?
Chocolate eggs inside? That was a fun little surprise I got to discover at my own TV job. So I would love to see that.
Just on a fluke too. Like when you started posting those pictures, like what the hell?
Look, man, I see a logo that's in my stuff that I follow online in real life, and I have to stop and freeze frame for a second because I'm like, what's this doing here?
Right.
Why is this at my job? And then, of course, like I said, I'll finish it off just because of the little anecdote, loving to reminisce about that going, oh yeah, we'll talk. We'll ask the news director on his Twitter to open up this box and basically reveal it.
And he did.
And it was freaking sweet to show the thing off. Just a little nugget and that was sent all to most of the affiliates too. That was the thing. It was affiliate little. I go by that guy's office every now and then. Still see the egg chilling up on the top row of his collection of items from like Fox or like CBS because we have a duopoly in that building. So it's funny. I get to see that like every other day if I'm walking by that office.
Tell him I'll give him $5 and a ref shirt for it.
Ooh, tempting offer. You might have to hit him up on Twitter. Yeah. Well, folks, that's going to about do it for this episode. Thanks a ton, as always, for following along with the show and for the praises and the feedback as of the last few episodes, too. It's been kind of a wild ride lately with a lot of the news coming out, but the season's ramping up. So am I surprised? Are we surprised? Hell no. We're not surprised at this whatsoever. And if you want to keep up again with our news, our own takes, our comments, and especially, like I said, we're going to do a bunch of recaps this year of games and a little more analysis than we did last year. Be sure to jump on and follow us on our socials at USFL Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and there is a TikTok. I swear to God, we will get a TikTok out at some point during the year. Besides that, again, subscribe to the YouTube page right now, especially if you haven't yet. And if you haven't clicked the bell, whether you're a new subscriber or an old one that just maybe you're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Well, hey, click that bell. Builds morale, and you don't miss an episode ever of the show. Those always come over to your phone or your inbox. You'll be able to check us out and, won't feel like you're behind on what the discussion is that week. Besides that, again, jersey giveaway too with that too. And check out that Breaking Tea deal at USFL Newsroom for 10% off discount code on the website for your favorite merch and gear. For my buddy, the ref, I am Zach Kyman saying so long. Thanks for tuning in to episode 46. We'll catch you in the next one. We got some more exciting things as the USFL season is about to kick off April 15th. Stay tuned, everybody.